It was a bitterly cold December night, and Alex Carter was driving down an empty stretch of highway, heading home after a long shift. The road was dark, the trees on either side forming an endless tunnel, their bare branches clawing at the sky. The hum of the truck's engine was the only sound accompanying him on his lonely journey. He had driven this route 100 times before, but tonight, something felt off. The silence was unnatural. Not a single car had passed him in over an hour. Even the usual distant howls of coyotes were absent. The weight of an unseen presence pressed down on his chest, but he shrugged it off. Fatigue was playing tricks on his mind. He had been on the road for too long. Then, he saw her. A small figure stood in the middle of the road, illuminated by his headlights. A little girl, barefoot, wearing a tattered white dress that fluttered in the cold night air. Her long black hair fell over her face, hiding her features. Alex's heart pounded. He slammed on the brakes, tires screeching against. For a moment, there was only silence. Alex unbuckled his seatbelt, his hands shaking slightly. "Hey, kid," he called out. "What are you doing here?" The girl didn't move. She didn't even flinch. Alex hesitated. He had heard stories about criminals using decoys, people pretending to need help, only for unsuspecting drivers to be ambushed. But this girl looked too young, too fragile. She couldn't be older than 10. He grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out of the truck, the cold wind biting through his jacket. "Are you lost?" he asked, taking slow steps toward her. Still, she said nothing. Then she moved. Not in a normal way. She didn't walk. She glided, her feet never leaving the ground, as she slowly raised a single hand and pointed toward the forest beside the road. It crawled up Alex's spine. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to run, to get back in the truck and drive, but something held him there, rooted to the spot. "Do you need help?" His voice barely rose above a whisper. The girl's head snapped up. Alex stumbled backward, his breath catching in his throat. Her face was pale, almost ghostly, her hollow eyes pitch black. Her mouth opened wider than humanly possible, and an ear-piercing scream tore through the silence. The headlights of the truck flickered. The air around him grew thick, heavy. Alex turned on his heel and ran back to the truck, his hands fumbling for the door handle. He yanked it open, scrambled inside, and locked the doors. His heart slammed against his ribs as he started the engine. Mirror, the girl was gone. He exhaled sharply, his breath fogging up the glass. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "Just a hallucination," he told himself. "I need to sleep." Then, he saw her reflection in the mirror. She was sitting in the back of his truck. Alex let out a strangled yell, swerving wildly. The truck skidded off the road, tires crunching over gravel before it came to a screeching halt, just inches from a ditch. His breathing was ragged as he whipped around. The back seat was empty. His mind was racing, his hands trembling as he rubbed his eyes. He had imagined it. He had to have imagined it. He needed to get home, get some rest. He put the truck back in gear and sped off, refusing to glance at the mirror again. Watched, never left him. When Alex finally pulled into his driveway, the clock on the dashboard read 2:47 a.m. His house was dark, silent, the way he had left it. He cut the engine and exhaled, gripping the wheel tightly. "It's over," he muttered to himself. "Just my mind playing tricks." He stepped out of the truck, the cold air sharp against his skin. But as he turned toward his front door, his blood ran cold. Tiny, wet footprints led up the steps. His stomach twisted. He reached for his keys with shaking fingers and unlocked the door, pushing it open slowly. The house was eerily silent, but he could feel it. Something was inside. A soft giggle echoed through the hallway. Alex froze. He turned his head slowly toward the living room. The girl was standing there, her black eyes staring straight at him. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The lights flickered violently. The air turned icy. The girl's lips curled into a grotesque smile, and she took a step forward. Alex stumbled backward, his mind screaming at him to move, to run. But his body wouldn't obey. He was her and pointed at him. Darkness consumed everything. The next morning, Alex's truck was still parked in the driveway, the engine off. His front door was wide open, swinging slightly in the cold breeze. Inside, the house was empty. There was no sign of struggle, no blood, no footprints, just silence. Days passed, then weeks. No one saw Alex again. His friends, his family, the authorities, they all searched, but there were no clues, no leads. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. Then, the rumors began. Drivers passing through that stretch of highway started reporting strange sightings. A little girl, standing in the middle of the road, her face hidden behind a curtain of black hair. Some claimed she pointed toward the forest. Others swore they heard laughter inside their vehicles. And those who stopped to help, they were never seen.